You just tuned it in. Global and worldwide. Hitting you on the one with no delay. Because it's the fighter's voice. The fighter's voice. With your fighting host, Richard Ortiz. And the formidable co-host, Mr. Cole Escovedo. Remember, every fighter has a voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fresno, California, the fighter's voice, the only voice knocking out the competition. It's good to have everybody back in studio with us. We have the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only. I can go on and on, but you know what? It'll take the whole pre-production of our show. It'll take the whole intro. I can be here all day because when you say man, myth, and legend, what do you think of? You think of stuff prehistoric. You think of stuff that's living. You think of stuff that's in the Bible. You think of stuff that's written on walls. You're thinking of stuff that make waterfalls. And you're thinking of stuff that somebody just walks around with big, giant balls. And I'm talking about the one, the only, Top Rank's own, Lee. The man, the myth, the legend, Samuels. Welcome to the show, Lee. How's it going?
Greetings, everybody. I'm excited about the show.
Exactly. And just to let you know, the radio show just turned into the Kick-Ass Podcast. And we can't start without the one, the only, the Apache Kid, the co-host with the most, the one sporting looking good in the smooth tuxedo, the one and only Mr. Co Escovedo.
Tuxedo. You know what's funny is I've never had a tuxedo.
You never had?
Mm-mm.
So you never went to the prom?
Mm-mm.
You didn't go to the prom?
Well, I didn't go to my prom. I went to someone else's. No, I still didn't wear a tux. I wore a guest suit. Yeah, I went to somebody else's prom.
Okay, I can see that too. Hey, Lee, let's just ask you this: did you ever go to the prom?
No.
You didn't go to the prom when you were in high school.
I wasn't that. I was.
You mean they weren't fighting? They weren't
I
fighting over you?
I was actually writing sports and stuff. I was in high school. I wrote for the local paper.
Oh, man, they didn't even start it back then. See, ladies and gentlemen, when I say the man, the myth, the legend, I mean, he just let you know right now. It's like, you don't like the story of Achilles in the hill? You don't like when they say release the Cracklin?
Yeah.
It's just release this guy right here, man. I mean, because he just, it can go on and on and on, man. But no, hey, I'm Richard Ortiz. I'm your host of the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show. We're knocking out the competition. This is the part of the show where we just let you know it's going to be one of those types of shows, man. I mean, I don't even know. I don't need no questionnaire. I have notes, but it's more of a safety net. But this man needs no introduction. He's here in the show, and I just want him to just spill. We're going to talk about today's fighters, yesterday's fighters, the past, the present, in the future, how boxing has changed from the 80s to the 90s to today, how even the trainers have changed, the athletes have changed, and even the business side promotion has changed. Enough said, man. I said welcome to the show, but I'm going to welcome you again, and I just want to jump right to it, man. What can the fans expect? We're going to jump right into it. Sunday, February 10th, Jose Ramirez, the Avenal Kid, Save Mart Center, Rick Meridian, Bob Aaron Promotions, Top Rank. It doesn't get any better than that. We don't need nothing golden. All we need is something on the top. And you got that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Jose's an extraordinary fighter. Tremendous left hook. Great trainer, Robert Garcia. He's fighting a fighter Zapatos trained by Freddie Roach.
That's a story in
and
itself.
We talked in a car coming over. There's danger.
Freddie Roach, former trainer of Jose Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, danger in all fights. But Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman, myself, and Miguel Diaz, we saw Jose train, in Riverside, California. He looked great, good spirits, and he's in a tough one Sunday, but he should be fine. And I think he's destined to fight, mega fights.
Yeah.
I think by beating King's fighter Amir Rahman at the Madison Square Garden, he showed who he really is. He dug in deep for that. Now here's a kid who used to train in a barn with his trainers, and he asked them, am I good enough to fight in the Olympics? And they told him yes. And he made the Olympics. And then we had a lot of interest in him with his promoter, Rick Meridian.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be a fine tandem. I mean, they're making things work. Right now, they're on a roll, and if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Well, I told you the story about Mike Reed. I was in Madison Square Garden. This was about a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. And Mike Reed, he won a fight in the Garden.
Undefeated Mike Reed.
Mm-hmm. And he told me, Jose's not what you think. You propped him up with easy guys and whatever, and I can knock him. He'll never hit me with the footwork. And I just said, would you say it to the Fresno Bee? He says, yeah. And he did. And we sold a lot of tickets for it. Mm-hmm. And the fight went about one punch.
Well, exactly. And let's go back. Let's go back to that because if I replay it on my phone will drain all the battery because he threw like maybe 7 or 8 left hooks in a row, and that one punch just put him to sleep.
Well, he said he had the footwork to counter all that. And by the way, Reed fought for us after that fight.
Yeah, he did.
But he
on the undercard back in Fresno, I believe. No, was it in Fresno?
No, it was in L.A. And he didn't have the fire he had before he fought.
You know what,
Jose, and that was. Then we released him.
Something happens once a man gets tagged and he gets tested.
And he's a good person. Waters. He's a good. It's tough in the ring. When Jose signed with Robert Garcia, I asked Robert, "Do you mess with his left hook?" He goes, "No, you never mess with a fighter's best weapon. You leave that alone. You work on other footwork and other
smart.
things."
That's why he's one of the best.
Right. Garcia said, "Leave that left hook alone." Right.
Yeah. If he's good at it, you're going to waste so much time trying to find a way to defeat it rather than just ways to avoid it and set you up for a counter. Like
Jose told me when he was a little boy in amateur fights, he first discovered. He said he would throw the left hook, say 9 or 10 years old, and the other opponent would it wouldn't go down, but he would
freeze him
a little bit, and then could finish him off. So he knew early what his punch was.
Like throwing a flashbang into a room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like pre-breach or something. It just kind of stuns him, and you're like, now I got you.
Yeah. He can go a long ways.
I truly believe so.
Yeah.
I do. Sky's the limit, and they're taking it one fight at a time.
He's training hard. He's got a great trainer, good people around him. He loves fighting here, and we love coming here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's good. And in Fresno, we welcome you here. I mean, we welcome you here at Mad Production and Entertainment here in studios, only on the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show.
The UFC is going to see a dip in numbers on Saturdays, I think, for their card.
Oh, they are.
Everything in the Central Valley, everyone's going to be at the Save Mart.
Well, actually, Saturday is showtime, giving them a little thing. This one's on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So,
Cool. So they avoid him entirely.
Exactly.
So you got a whole weekend.
This whole weekend we're being spoiled.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you're in the combatant sports, which you and myself are, and Mr. Lee Samuels, I'm going to spoil like a kid in a candy store.
I want you to stay clear of Jose because you are a former fighter. Things happen.
I can see that. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll set up a chess game or something. I'll set up a chess game. They're both
something
competitive.
safe. Something safe.
They're both competitive. They're very both competitive. And they're about the same weight, too.
Man, I got better chance at dodging taxes than I do.
What do you weigh, seriously?
Right now, probably about 55, 60.
Oh, boy, that's trouble.
Yeah, that
see?
Is trouble.
That is.
Trouble.
I guess I can get back under 50. I'll get back under 50. Well,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm teetering on that Poppy's weight. That's what everyone's looking at.
Exactly. Well, you know what? It's Poppy Martinez. That's a feud that's going on. Well, maybe I'll negotiate for you. We can get some of that Jose money. Let's lay it down on the table right there. We'll see. I can see it now. Co Escovedo makes comeback. Comes out with the Apache Kid versus, Avenal's own.
Define comeback money to get your ass whooped.
Yeah, man. You're still a matchmaker.
Now, if you're Freddie Roach, how would you attack Jose?
Oh my gosh.
He trained him. Knows everything about him.
First of all, I would convince my fighter to believe everything that I say. Mm-hmm. And he has to because he's going to take the lead on this and have 100% confidence that whatever Freddie Roach is telling me, he knows what's going to work and neutralize him.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about Freddie Roach in a fight. I asked him specifically, what do you say to a fighter between rounds? That 1 minute break. Mm. He goes, as little as possible. And I say it when he's getting up off the stool, going back in. I'll say, go to your left, or walk him down, or go to your right. Very simple instructions because and no one else is allowed to speak in the corner but Freddie.
Absolutely.
And then it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, realistically,
what happened to you?
Before the cornermen go in, they decide if the whole fight was a grappling fight, it's like Rich. Go over what he needs to do on the ground. If he was winning, tell him what he needs to do. If it was on the feet, you'll have their striker. Okay, tell him what the goal is.
When you fought, did your trainers talk to you during the fight, or
just one, like during the bout itself, or in between rounds?
In between rounds.
In between rounds, it was always just like I said, one specific. Like if we were having a whole ground battle that round, I would talk to my ground coach. If it was a striking one, I would talk to my striking coach, and they'd say, okay, here's what's working, here's what. But only one would talk, and they would decide who was going to do it before they would come into the ring with me. Right.
When one time I walked in a wild card. And Manny Pacquiao was in there. No one else was in. He was fighting Oscar, and the concern was Oscar's hook, right?
Yeah, the 45.
Yeah. So, and Freddie was teaching Pacquiao in slow motion how to roll out of areas away and stay out of corners. Don't get trapped against the ropes. But it's all done by nobody in the gym, slow motion, careful coaching. It really is something to see. Also, Freddie also told me that Eddie Futch taught him this. Like your ring, you square the ring, and you put another square inside the ring, and have your fighter fight, in the center of the ring, and don't get caught in corners or anything. Like if you get caught in the corner, try to make your way back to the center of the ring and do your fighting there. It's called King of the Ring, and he said it was taught by Eddie Futch to Freddie, and who trained Freddie. And he said trainers don't do it anymore, but I'd like to have the fighters fight more in the center of the ring and not in dark corners.
Yeah,
or anything.
I could see it builds muscle memory for staying in the center. Remember, if you have the center of the ring, it's not like getting taken down or anything is a risk. You control
exactly
the angles, the pace, everything works off that center anyway when training anyway. So yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
By the way, when a fighter gets hurt, invariably he's made a mistake. Either like for example, when Marquez knocked out Pacquiao, in that particular event, they had fought before.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't want to go to scorecards. So Pacquiao goes side-to-side motion, and it goes in 3 steps and then exit. Marquez calls that a good exit strategy. But to knock him out, he took a 4th step. So Marquez's punch is right there, and then you saw what happened.
Yeah, you're beating him to it.
So my point being, when you see a fighter get hit, like Terrence Crawford told me the hardest punch he took was against Gamboa, because Gamboa was darting in and out. He says, I messed up on my footwork.
Yeah. He came in as Gamboa
when
was coming in.
When Jesse Vargas hit Tim Bradley called me to his room afterwards. I made a mistake. 10 seconds ago, I squared up instead of side.
Yeah.
And I got caught, and it was really a deep punch. He said he got, the fighters caught, I got hit deep. And if it happened in the middle of the fight, it would have been a problem.
Oh, exactly.
Only because he made the mistake. The fighter who got hit usually invariably makes a mistake.
Yeah, judgment mistake, a timing mistake, a distance mistake.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's good when a fighter acknowledges that, because he's still in tuned and he knows exactly what he did wrong.
Yeah, he's aware of his mistake. Yeah,
because
exactly.
A fighter like Crawford, it's all timing, rhythm. Like Crawford will give away rounds early. He's trying to figure out
your rhythm,
the timing and rhythm of the punches coming in. Well, he's doing this, touching him while all this firepower is coming in. It's an amazing thing to see Crawford before he gets him where he wants to go. And
because that's really what it's 3-minute rounds, so that's only going to be like 6 to 9 minutes. Yeah. You're not really burning too much juice. You're timing. You're buying your timing.
I mean, he's so athletic and strong that he's able to I don't want to say put himself at risk, but figure out the fighter in the first 3 rounds and able to slip punches before they even start coming.
Exactly.
Just by being elusive, watching his footwork.
Because all you got to do,
he's the total package right now.
Yeah, you just got to dodge a couple, and then once you start dodging a couple, now you're like, okay, now where do I counter? Exactly. I can dodge these.
I want to tell you both though that if you lose a fight for us, it's not the end of the world. First of all, let's give an example of Jeff Horn against Crawford. Right?
Okay.
Crawford's first time at 47. Even though Horn lost, he had a high compete level, tried to win, fought pretty hard. Yeah, probably beat our other 47s. Or when Crawford fought Jose Benavides, 11 rounds, really good fight. Yeah, Benavides could beat a lot of other guys. So you don't. We had a problem with our fighters when we had Mayweather. We had a lot of 25, 20, 30-year-old, 30-0 guys who he was beating.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for a fighter's first loss psychologically, right? It's a horrible effect. And we tell them, you're professional fighters, get back in training, and we'll get you a title.
And you know what? That's the faith that they have.
You know that.
Yeah. You gotta tell them it's not the end of the world. You gotta convince them it's part of the game.
Mayweather is a tremendous fighter with upper body defense. It was taught to him by his father.
Yeah, and that works for him. I mean, taught to him, and he perfected it. I liked, what about Pernell Whitaker, his movement?
Oh, well, the Whitaker De La Hoya fight, that was a tough fight.
That was close.
Close.
Let's not talk about that one too much. That was very close.
Yeah.
That was very close. And let's talk about the so-called draw with Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yes, you can probably talk about that better than I can.
Oh man, he's tossing the fighter on the boxing hot seat.
No. He knows you're a combatant guy. Man.
Draws are never good. Draws always put a sour taste in everyone's mouth, and it always leaves questions because you always have believers
also,
on one side.
You can never tell how a fight's being scored. I've been around forever.
Ever.
You don't know. You have to win those rounds.
Diaz Condit. I always use that as an example.
Oh man, that was a great fight right there, and that's something that's just crazy.
Exactly.
I thought Hagler Leonard. I thought Hagler won, but he didn't get the win, and I thought Oscar beat Trinidad. Clearly beat him.
Well, when I said that, when they talk to me about that, I always say Felix Trinidad was awarded the fight. He didn't win the fight. If that makes any sense, because I thought Oscar De La Hoya won the fight.
When I walked into the ring that night, I turned to the front row of press row, talked to the guy from New York Times who told me 10-2 Oscar. So I didn't think anything of it. It never crossed my mind he could lose.
10-2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I had it 8. I had 7-5, 8-4 at different times. Well, I watched it over and over again.
But everybody had Oscar ahead. But
absolutely.
But it didn't happen. And you can't. And like when Horn beat Pacquiao, people say, "Can you change that?" No, a promoter can't change result.
No.
When the results announced, they raise the guy's hand. People in Vegas get paid their tickets instantly.
Yeah.
You can't change results.
No.
We can't. We could do rematches.
No.
But that, or you can file a protest, which could lead to a rematch. So you can't change result.
That makes a good question. And so, like, I've seen it happen in MMA. I've seen fights bet on. Mm-hmm. I've seen guys win. They're announced. Later, they go back and they realize, oh, man, we messed up. They have to go back and change it. I've already been paid out if I was the ticket holder.
Yeah.
That causes a whole slew of problems, I'd imagine.
Seriously?
I've seen it happen before, yeah.
By the way, any update with Chris Honeycutt on them reliving that decision? Chris Honeycutt's a
That's right.
Bellator
It was
fighter.
February hearing, wasn't it? He was getting ready to go for that. I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
I'll just have to hit him up.
Chris Honeycutt was a guest of ours, Bellator fighter, MMA fighter, and he didn't like the decision and protested.
I want to make sure you don't walk into a boxing ring.
Man.
On fight night. By mistake.
We may have to get him in there. We'll let Robert Garcia know that Jose got some new sparring coming in.
All I know is I've got like a 72-inch reach.
But we're not going to the cage, though.
No, man.
Lee, you better watch out, because when he ties up a boxer, he may put him in some kind of arm bar. So
right.
Watch out.
Hey, I've seen MMA guys do that.
He will not throw a punch. He's intentionally going to tie up, and then we're in trouble.
And then clinch and throw an elbow and be like, Cole, you're DQ'd.
Exactly.
Which brings me to a wrestling story. I was working at the Philadelphia Bulletin. Bob Backlund was champion, and he was selling at the Spectrum. So my boss called me in and said, you know wrestling's a fraud, right? Yeah, I know, I guess. Well, I want you to go interview Bob Backlund and have him say that the wrestling's fixed, okay? No problem. So I get the PR guy, and I meet Bob Backlund, the champion, face-to-face, and then I said, I believe my father and I watched wrestling for years. It's not coming from me. It's coming from the office. They think that you know the results. He goes, "What'd you say?" So I said, they think that you know the results ahead of time. He goes, "Come here." He picked me up and took me sideways. He goes, "I'm going to break your back. I'm going to snap your back in two unless you take it back." And then not only take it back, but you go to the office and you tell him, "I'm going to break your back." And it hurt really bad. I was sideways in the air. And
you didn't get hit with a chair or anything?
At that time, a tag team came in, like a really mean tag team. And they started growling at me. I said, "Whoa, this is really bad."
Hold on.
Oh, man.
You never know who's going to pick you up in the air next and just start shaking you.
Hey, Lee got some stories to tell. I think deep down he's a badass.
No, listen, you're told what to do. But because I was a big wrestling nut, but that was a bad scene.
It was a bad scene, but we want to keep our scenes good. So right now we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to be coming right back here with the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show. Remember, we're knocking out the competition. We'll be right back with our guest, the one and only Mr. Lee Samuels.
Hi, I'm Jose Ramirez.
I'm Bob Arum.
Hi, I'm Robert Garcia, and I'm with the Fighter's Voice.
The only radio show knocking out the competition. Fighter's Voice Radio Show.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Richard Ortiz, and the co-host with the most, Mr. Co Escovedo. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go any further, I want to let you know that the man sitting next to me is the class of 2019 this June. He will be only the second publicist in International Boxing Hall of Fame. He'll be going in there with the likes of you-know-who. enough said. I can go on and on because before that, he was with the class and with Muhammad Ali in Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. I believe, and that was 215 or 216?
215.
215. But you know what? You don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to the hall. I mean, you may go to the hall to get a glass of water and when you're in your house, but we're talking about the Hall of Fame. But we're going to talk about where he started, where it all started from. And my man, I believe you started off as a writer, writing about sports, racing, basketball, and then into boxing.
I covered a lot of sports, but I love boxing. When I was a little boy, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but I had a radio and listened to Ali versus Doug Jones, and I fell in love with the game. When you listen to a game on a fight on radio, it's a lot different than TV.
Yeah, it is.
You hear everything, sounds in the ring and stuff. But
there's more passion, more detail to it.
Exactly. And so at that time, I worked at a bulletin in Philadelphia, which covered every Joe Frazier fight and every Ali fight, every fight. And I covered those fights, and then. I covered 2 Ali fights. And then the paper closed in 83. And then I wasn't going to work for my competitor, the Inquirer or Daily News. So I got hired by Bob Arum as a writer. He was launching a Thursday night ESPN series. And I was sent to Atlantic City.
I remember that, Thursday night fights.
On that series was Michael Buffer's debut.
Man Your Battleships. Before Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Battleships. And also on that series was Al Bernstein.
Al Bernstein.
Right.
He still can hold his own today.
This is 1983.
Yeah, Al Bernstein.
So and also our matchmakers, Teddy Brenner, and of course Bob Arum hired me, and Teddy Brenner and Bruce Trampler were the matchmakers. And Bruce Trampler has an amazing story. He worked as an assistant trainer for Ali with.
Bruce Trainer.
Yeah, Bruce Trampler.
Oh, Trampler. Okay.
Yeah, he worked. He worked as a part-time assistant trainer with Ali for a while before he became a full-time matchmaker. And
I saw him in Vegas. He had a shirt that said Mr. Trainer.
Top Rank has 5 people in the Hall of Fame. Bob Arum, of course, Teddy Brenner, Bruce Trampler, Irving Rudd, my boss. I'll tell you about Irving Rudd, my boss, when I was a writer. He taught me how to be a publicist. I covered an Ali fight. I was really nervous about it.
The first publicist in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I was really nervous about it. And I called Irving and said, hey, I got to speak to Ali personally with Angelo. He goes, yeah, they know you're coming. They want to talk to you. I was just a young reporter. Wow. So I get off the plane. I said, here? Yeah, he's right here. He wants to talk to you. Ali does. And Angelo's next to him. So I learned from him, to give the writers what they want and don't make a big deal about it, and to make it in a light touch, a light way, and don't make it like you're doing them a favor. Just you're doing your job.
Yeah,
and that's what I tried to do as a publicist. So I was on that series for 3 years. I loved being on that series, and then Bob called me and said, "You're doing okay. I'm going to give you a fighter." It was Marvin Hagler. He was my first star fighter. And he came, I said, what are we doing? We're fighting Leonard. I said, well, okay. So he said, go to Palm Springs and set up a training camp. And we had outside the hotel, we had a covered ring, and people from LA would come. It'd be packed every day with fans. And I learned that all my years that top teams are very small. Fighter plus a couple trainers and 2 or 3 sparring partners. Yep. And I worked with Goody and Pat Petronelli, beautiful people.
Yeah, the brothers.
And at that time, they didn't have a whole lot of concern for Leonard, who was coming off some eye surgery,
detached retina, just some rust, just some layoff.
Knocked down his previous fighter.
And when he tried to come back against Howard, and he was knocked down, I believe, in the 4th round, he went at the press conference and said, "There is no more comeback."
Yeah.
Any further.
So in that camp,
Kevin Howard.
In that camp, they were talking more about fighting. They weren't concerned about Leonard, but fighting Donald Curry next.
I remember that.
Because he was unbeaten welterweight.
That never happened, and they were pretty close to that.
Curry was selling.
Also, Sugar Ray Leonard and Pepino Cuevas at one time. Yeah. Never happened.
But Curry was selling 15. He was our fighter. He sold 15,000 tickets a fight. No one's done that in Texas since him.
That's a lot of money.
Even though I thought we won, and we didn't with Hagler. No, we both got inducted to the Nevada Hall of Fame. And I asked Rich Murata to sit us together with our wives, because things happen in camps, as you know, that no one knows. Like guys get knocked down and stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of things happen that the fans
injuries,
don't know, or writers never know. So I sat with him, and I just said, "Why'd you quit?" And he says, I made almost like 20 million my last fight, and I felt pretty healthy, and that was it. I'm done. I had tough fights before I got the top rank, and then I had enough to live on.
When he walked away, he reminded me of Michael Spinks. So Michael Spinks walked away, even though he got knocked out in the first round by Tyson. He still had some fights out there. They tried to set up him in Holyfield.
You know what? Training is harder than the fights. You know that. Training is harder than fighting. When you see what Jose Ramirez goes through every day, the hard sparring. I'm talking about extreme sparring, not light sparring.
We were just talking about that.
Not tactical sparring.
No.
Sparring against young kids who want to take them out. Okay? And all the stars have to get through that stuff. And which leads me to Ramirez. There's bigger fights ahead of him.
Yeah, yes, there is, and I'm smiling when you say that because we had the privilege of honor. We actually broadcast there when we were at Ramirez's. At Robert Garcia's gym about 2.5 weeks ago, and Robert says, "Hey, you see that fight right there?" He goes, "Look at them; they're not sparring." And he goes, "Look at them close," because these sparring partners would come at Jose very tough in the first round. Then after, when Jose would kind of touch him up a little bit, then they were kind of giving high fives afterwards. They got that respect, and yeah.
Does it concern you that Freddie Roach is in the other corner?
I mean, there's a concern. There's a concern there, but my main concern is Jose Ramirez is in my corner, and he's fighting. That's what it boils down to.
I have a Freddie Roach story.
Okay, let's hear
So
it.
one time we're in Texas, and I said, you think you're a hot shot and stuff, but nobody really knows you. We're going to walk in that Starbucks. I bet you no one says a freaking word.
Oh, you told that to Freddie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we walk in a Starbucks, a little town in Texas. He walks in, Freddie,
Let's call it like 3 seconds.
What the hell is this?
Freddie's he's an iconically recognizable image.
Anywhere.
No, he is.
He fought for top rank, and he would fight anybody, anywhere. He was a really, really tough guy.
Yeah.
And his career came to end. He worked for Eddie Futch as assistant trainer. When Eddie passed away, then he got those fighters that Futch was training.
Yeah.
And he's one of the greatest.
Now, I will say this, Freddie Roach, every time we went to Wild Card, he opened up his gym, him and Marie, and actually he has a picture of Richie in his gym. He don't put up too many pictures, but he has he had 3 pictures right by the light of Richie there, the whole thumbs up. And Freddie's class act, man.
He sure is.
So he's going to be cornering the opposite Ramirez.
Zepeda.
So as Jose's current coach, you'd have to think right out the gate, we have to come up with something that you aren't used to doing. Like you would have to, even if it's your like in the pocket ace in the hole kind of thing. Like if you're losing, we're like, okay, that's the last couple rounds. Throw this at the kid. Just throw this at him. Not going to expect it.
I got a different opinion. I think he just sets him up for the hook. I think fighters know how to feint. You fight. They know how to get. If you watch Lomachenko, he basically tries to twist and turn you in the best position. Like
get you to follow him.
When Lomachenko fought time with Top Rank, he told Bob, "I want to fight for a world title fight, my pro debut." And Bob said he would try to do it. Yeah. And they didn't give him. They didn't give him a champion. They gave him a 25-1 guy, Jose Gonzalez from Mexico. In the middle of that fight, he hit him right here in the chest, a heart punch, and the guy dropped like that. I went in the ring. I said, "Why'd you throw that?" Because it's unexpected and it hurts.
Exactly, right where your rib cage is.
Upside the point of your chest bone. He also told me this: I never show all my punches in one fight.
You break someone's spleen.
When I go into fight, I don't want to go 12 rounds. I'm looking for a way to stop him. Yeah. I don't want to go 12. I want to get that guy out of here. And like against Walters, he hit him at the temple.
Yeah.
When I got in the ring, and Walter said he didn't know where he was. He said, "What's going on?"
He just blacked out
because he hit him right here in the temple.
Hit the computer reset button.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you hit him in the temple, that would do the same effect.
Yeah, it's like getting knocked out. It's that reset button, man. You'll wake up and be like,
right
here.
There's somewhere back
right by your jawline,
behind the ear too, right?
Behind the ear is pretty bad.
It's like you just pull your battery out of your neck,
Kind of. It's just where your nerve endings.
I have a question for you guys. That punch that Hopkins put on De La Hoya, that punch in the back.
That body shot, yeah.
Was that really that devastating?
The kidneys?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You can't
They'll
breathe,
take you
man.
right down.
Yeah, hell
You
yeah.
can't breathe.
It's like getting hit. It's, I'd say it's not quite as bad as getting hit in the
painful.
liver, but
It's very
it's right up
painful.
there.
So fighters try to they try to get that punch in, right? They try to get it behind you, or no? I don't see it that often.
MMA is a little different. I think everyone's targeting base is a little different. You'd probably see it more in boxing with maybe dirty boxing.
Yeah.
Maybe guys trying to get away with it. That's what the whole harness goes all the way around for.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, our matchmakers, for example, when they have a young fighter, Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman, they'll give them 6 or 7 wins, and then they'll run a guy like 5-5 from Philly or Denver who's really dirty.
Yeah, exactly. You got to dirty him up, man.
And you have to beat those kind of fighters.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what the fighter's record is. The matchmakers watch. They know every fighter, every young fighter, tough guys. He could be 3-8, but he can be tough as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Right?
I'm gonna tell you a story about that. We're gonna take a commercial break, and we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna find out exactly
time.
how did Mr. Lee Samuels connect with Top Rank Boxing when he was hired, and how the game has changed. And they're gonna reflect also on some other fighters on the card, like Fresno's own Isidro Ochoa, Stockton's own Gabriel Flores Jr., and also San Jose's Andy Altibaron Vincent, and also let's not forget about the former WBO lightweight champion, Mr. Ray Baltron's also on the card. We're coming right back. Remember, the fighter's voice, the only voice that matters, knocking out the competition. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jose Ramirez.
I'm Bob Arum.
Hi, I'm Robert Garcia, and I'm with the Fighter's Voice.
The only radio show knocking out the competition. Fighter's Voice Radio
Ladies
Show.
and gentlemen, we're back. The fighter's voice, the only voice that matters, knocking out the competition. Listen, we got a whole entire show second half coming at you, man. We're going to dive right in with our guest, Mr. Lee Samuels. We're going to talk about how he got employed by Top Rank Boxing. Did he fill out an application? Did Bob Arum hear about him? Did his work speak for itself, or he just happened to be such a boxing fan, he kept knocking on the door until they opened up, just like we're doing with the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show. The mic is all yours, my man. How did we make that connection with Bob Arum and get employed by Top Rank, and where did you start off at?
I covered boxing for a few newspapers, first in South Jersey. I worked for a great person named Bob Schroyak, and I covered a fighter named Mike Rossman, the Jewish bomber, who lived in Washington Township. And then while I was working in Woodbury, he was fighting on the undercard at Madison Square Garden, and I saw my first world champion, Rodrigo Valdez, come to the ring. And when you see a champion, it's different than you've ever seen. You know, his outfit, the way he strolls into the ring, full of confidence. And I said, oh, my God. You know, this is really something. It was at the Garden, too. I got a chill just talking about it. And so from there, those are an editor named Bob Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. He hired me at the Camden Courier-Post. And then I started covering some of the Philly fighters, Mike Tinley, Machine Gun Mungeon, you know. And then I was also, at that time, going through the Peltz era with Benny Briscoe, Cyclone Hart, Kitten Hayward, you know, all those fighters that Peltz had. Peltz probably ruled the middleweights for a decade there. And Hagler was brought in to fight almost all those guys because Hagler couldn't get fights, you know, being left-handed and being really good. The only guy who would book him would be Peltz, and they would do 15,000 people at the Spectrum. That was a great era to cover boxing.
Stay on that era just a second. Was it difficult for Southpaws to get a fight in that era?
No one wanted Hagler, but Peltz booked him against his guys because he knew he would sell out crowds.
Yeah.
Hagler was a really high-end performer.
Yeah.
And he made all his money with Top Rank, his big money, you know, millions of dollars.
And he actually went commercial after the Tommy Hearns fight, and that's when it really spilled over. He started going into
They really,
talk shows,
for some
commercials.
reason, and I don't know why, but Hearns really didn't like him for some reason. I don't know. You know, it was for real.
Oh, that was for real? Because I know that stare down was for real because during the national anthem, he was still trying to mad dog Marvin.
Yeah,
Hagler.
there's a book came out. It's very rare for an author to get inside our business and with accuracy. You know, it was a book called Four Kings by George Kimball, and like negotiating for Hagler Leonard and all those details laid out are accurate.
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure
very.
they are.
I'm telling you, it's very rare to have an author of a book have everything straight. And,
well, when it comes to specific deals of things of that nature, I imagine it'd be really hard to get
he was
the true
very
facts.
close to. It was a different era then, where
Yeah.
print was king, Sports Illustrated was king in the 70s and 80s. It was really a big deal, and Aram is a big arena opponent. Starting his first fighter was Ali.
Yeah.
So we've always been a big arena company. He makes big fights. He does what it takes to make it. Even though you may say today he can't do that, he can.
No, yes, he can.
He can do.
Yes,
He can do. He and Todd DeBuff can do things you don't think are possible, which means you're going to see our top stars fighting other companies' top stars. You're going to see it.
Right now, in this age, not only, and I'm not saying this because you're our guest, is Top Rank in full throttle control of the whole boxing atmosphere. When Bob Arum shows up, it's like Don Corleone, man. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, he just comes in there.
He can
and
say
just,
something as simple as this. Matt Lomachenko, he reminds me of Ali. Just one sentence. It goes everywhere, right? And he has the ability to heighten a fighter.
Exactly.
He can say certain things about a fighter.
Becomes gospel
because
at that point.
he was with our company started in '63, and Ali was our first fighter, and we've been through it all. The greatest stars you can think. I've been really lucky.
When you start off with
I've
a
been
guy like
lucky.
him.
You've been blessed. You got the greatest
just
job in the world.
and not just the fighters, but all the top media. There's no night like fight night. You know that.
Yeah.
There's no.
It's a different
in
energy.
any sport in the world, there's nothing like the night of a big fight at ringside. And I always like to be at ringside with the writers, as you know.
Yeah.
And there's no feel like it. When you finally get to that main event, you've been working on for months. And it's pretty exciting.
Speaking of that, Las Vegas, the press conference, Crawford, Bob Arum made the comparisons of he reminds me of Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
Remember,
there you go.
He said that.
Yeah.
So, he has a way of doing that. And you believe it because who said it? The man himself said it.
Carries weight.
You guys are boxing guys, and you know more than I know. I just think Crawford's unbeatable. I know it sounds stupid to say, but I just see he's the most well put together fighter I've seen in a long time.
He's very well put together. He's smart. He's a student of the game, and he's living a clean life.
When he was a little boy, when he's an amateur.
Oh, let's talk about the amateurs. Him and Jose, right? They scored off in the amateurs?
No, I didn't know that.
No, I thought you said that.
No.
I was saying that, okay, because that's some unforbidden stuff. I was like, man, I didn't hear that one.
No.
Lomachenko and Jose.
But I'll tell you a story about Crawford. When he was a little boy, they would come up and say, "Hey, you're fighting a 12-0 guy from L.A. or something." He says, "No problem," or he's twice as big as you are. No problem, He was a tough little boy. But he had people who helped him. Become. There are always people behind a fighter who get him where he is, right? Trainers, family
Has to be.
people.
Yeah.
It's always people to help you.
Mike, look it up real quick. Did Saul Lomas fight Crawford in the amateurs? Fresno's own Saul Lomas? I think he lost to him. I'm not too sure. I want to find out my facts before I say that. And that's Fresno's own Saul, the Latin Cobra Lomas. So back onto Top Rank. Once you started there, you started off as a publicist.
Yeah.
Correct. And now your role is that you say,
I'm a coordinator now.
Yeah, you're more hands-on with the fighters.
Because ESPN's very intensive with interviews with fighters in different locations, and it's a big deal with ESPN. They are a big player in the sport of boxing, and I found out by signing on ESPN Plus how easy it is. And not just boxing, but all sports. It's an amazing, and the image is just so clear. Like we were doing a show. I think we're in Oklahoma City, and Conlon was fighting in Ireland, and one of our guys had a laptop. Streaming is where it's at.
Yeah,
you know that. I mean, my grandkids are 6 and 8. And they don't watch TV. They watch Netflix, Hulu, because it's video on demand or streams on demand.
TV's like becoming a dying
right,
platform.
Because and so none of my kids have cable. They have Netflix, Hulu, and an ESPN app or package or something for $20 a month.
Yeah,
well, I paid $250 for 2,000 channels, which I
you never watch.
I watch 5.
Exactly.
And in fact, my cable is probably being disconnected as I'm talking right now.
Oh, it probably is.
By the kids.
I'm twisting it off somehow.
And I think, there's a lot to offer with the streams and what's happening to how the sport's evolving. But I also think this is that, with Bob and Todd, we can do anything. They can make the biggest matches, happen.
Supply the product correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, check this out, Cole. Let me explain something to you. You got the Golden Boys. You got all these other companies, and they're all fighting. To be honest, they're all fighting to be number 2.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. Because you guys control it right now, and everybody is dreaming of signing and being the next star or the next person on Top Rank Boxing and ESPN.
Yep.
It's a great time to be a fighter.
Yes, it is.
Lots of advantage, yeah.
Financially, too.
Given
If
a decade ago.
If you're a fighter, it's a great era to be in. Although the 80s were fantastic.
Let's talk about the 80s. What fight in the 80s stands out besides Tommy Hearns and Leonard in 81?
Oh, man, so many. Our biggest fights were the fights I mentioned, Hagler, Leonard, De La Hoya, Chavez, the fight of the millennium, Trinidad and Oscar. They were major promotions.
Those were huge.
They were the biggest promotions that we did.
And Bob,
and by the way, we didn't win any. I don't think.
Well, you were not awarded any. Because Bob, those fights were made because Bob Arum. Because it was dealing with Don King with something else. Because Bob Arum said, "Okay, let's do this. Let's get the fight made." He made the fight happen. He could have stood on his side of the fence, but he goes, "No, let's give the fans what they want."
The fight was more important than what he wanted. Yeah,
exactly.
We thought Hagler Leonard was massive, and
that was huge.
Yeah,
that was huge. I had to pay $25. I had to go see it at a big screen. I actually went to Sound Arena. It was on a Friday.
Yeah.
Man, the days where the Selland Arena could charge to show an event. Like now, it's everywhere. Yeah. You go to your Wingstop, you go to
actually,
anywhere.
I paid $20 and I snuck down to the $25 seats, but it was still, I had to get down there, man. And also the closed circuit, they brought that back for the De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yes, I came back. I was at the Hilton working, and they called me back to work that show.
How true was that premature cut that Chavez had?
That I don't know. I was assigned to Oscar. I wasn't with Chavez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know.
I think Debbie Kaplan was working with him.
Okay. So,
by the way, there was a lot of rules in that. There were a lot of rules in that promotion. That was a 2-week, I think, press tour, and I think Oscar had to go to room first before Chavez. He'd be. Chavez was in control.
A little prima donna.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got a psychological too, though. Coming out second versus first. That's all psychological. I'm going to get my hotel room first. You can wait.
Or don't be on the same floor of the hotel and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But and Oscar just played along with it. Hey, but how do you think Pacquiao beat De La Hoya? Do you know how?
Well, okay. Well, I can kind of tell you. Oscar helped him by coming in a little too light, where he had no legs, and it was just speed itself. I thought Oscar would come in heavier.
Freddie knew something after the weigh-in. He said, I forget what the weight situation was, but he could tell that he was dried out. Yeah.
He said it's done. Yeah. Freddie told me the same story about the weigh-in. He said it's done. I knew we won then. Yeah. I knew we had this guy.
He didn't put on no weight.
No, he didn't. No.
He stayed at 147.
No. He came in under 147 to try to get speed. Yeah, when he could have used his size and imposed his will, but what do I know?
I don't think he had a chance.
No.
So Bob has done all these big fights.
Yeah.
And he's not done. He's going to make more big fights.
No, he's not done. No. And they're right there. And see, here's the thing.
I think Crawford Spence is about as big as it gets right now.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's very huge. Although Mikey Garcia may try to put something in the middle of that, and that's why he's training.
Well, I give Mikey's a great fighter.
Yeah.
He fought for us. He's a great person, and Robert's the best. They're both tremendous people, and the way he fought Broner, when Broner was a better Broner, he walked him down. He walked like that. That's Broner. He walked straight down and fought him. When you fight a bully, you go right at him. Right? You go right at him. Don't try to jab and stuff and move around. Just go at him and fight.
Yeah.
By the way, one night we were at ESPN in LA. We put Lomachenko next to Mikey Garcia just to look at it.
There you go. I like that.
Just to see what happens.
About the
I like
same
that.
size.
I like that. Just to give
I
the fans that visual.
I didn't know. Everyone said Mikey was so much bigger, but you put him side by side, about the same height.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
It's a good marketing tactic. It's a good marketing tactic.
That's good. That's great marketing too.
You could pitch it, go, look, they're about the same size. It's going to be as
They
even
just
of a
happened to
fight
be
as
there-
we can
they were
offer you.
They were doing interviews for different things, and they just, hey, he's here. Hey, just say hello.
Exactly.
But
So
we went to see side by side what they look like.
exactly, and the world got to see it, and they may get to see it again.
People start making their own assumptions at that point. They're like, oh, well, they're
because
the
Mike
same
is
size.
a free agent, he can kind of move around where he wants to, or at least call for that.
Yeah.
Anyways, how has boxing changed from the 80s to the 90s? And let's skip the whole 90s. How has it changed from the 80s to now? The fighters itself, the athlete himself.
Well, there's always big stars in every era, and Bob told us, he told our staff, don't try to compare fighters from different eras.
Yeah.
Why is that? Different coaching techniques, different health, fighters are nutrition.
You always try to remember. We've always been talking about that.
Yeah.
The shelf life has extended. It's changed. The methods are different.
From chopping the wood to the road work to too much sparring
Let me give you an example.
Sure.
Vasily Lomachenko, when he's training, he in the morning from 5 to 7 a.m. he power walks, doesn't run. I asked his father why. He says saves the knees. From 12 to 2 he swims in an Olympic pool, different strokes every day. Why is that? His father said because you need it for endurance. You always train to go the maximum rounds. 12 rounds you have to train. And then at night, from 5 to 7, they call him high tech for a reason. He's got all kind of probes on him, and his father's got stuff on his watch and stuff, and they check his heartbeat and punch rate and where the punches go. And then a couple of times a week, they take him in a room, turn the lights out like a laptop, and they do a touch the dots reaction drill, and he does a lot of other unique things. This is all new.
Yeah.
So, like, remember Rocky versus Drago?
Yeah.
Remember all the high-tech stuff they were showing?
Exactly.
None of that existed, but we have it now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
all the stuff they were using to test it, testing everything, measuring everything, all these rates. We have that now.
This is all different now, training.
It's way different.
But that's why Bob said you can't compare a fighter from today to a guy in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, it's
because of the
different.
opportunity and what they have their hands on now.
Yeah, the evolution of training methods, sparring, just evolution of fight. Like basketball players always try to say, well, so-and-so is better than MJ. Well, you're comparing two entirely different eras of basketball.
By the way, I have a question for both of you guys. Because Bob is a unique promoter. He reads a lot. He read about promoters in the 1920s and 30s. And I'll ask you the question he asked our staff. They were living on their ticket sales, and let's say you had a Tommy Hearns or a high action fighter for your headliner, Eric Morales, Hearns, high action.
Yeah,
he gets knocked out cold. Okay, what do you do with that fighter? Well, Bob read the books and said, you can bring that fighter right back. 2 or 3 months later, he'll still sell out. If he's a high action fighter. Yeah. Now, if he gets knocked out again, you get a problem.
Then you're boned.
But he's
Conor McGregor.
So Bob does things other promoters don't do. He's unique because he's read about how the promoters handle their fighters in different eras.
Yeah.
I find it all interesting.
They came out with the approach of, my guy's bound to lose. It's just get him into the next fight because that's how we make more money again.
Exactly.
He wins his fight. People are like, hey, it happens. It's boxing. More tickets.
You got some promoters I'm not going to mention, and they'll actually ring you out like a towel. They'll get every single drop that they can.
Some promoters do.
Spineless and so forth.
Some promoters have. I've seen that happen multiple times over my time in the sport. I've seen it happen multiple times. Managers too.
I have a question. I have a question for you. Because our matchmakers, when they take a young fighter, they'll run that fighter through every possible style, lefty, righter, hit him, he runs, hit him, he pressures you, to get him prepared for a bigger fight. Does that happen in MMA?
Yeah, not really, because we're only really focusing on who that next opponent is, and we focus morely on because there's so many different variations of things they could be good. A good wrestler, a good kickboxer, good boxer. because things like that, they might have different attributes that they're really good at. So you got to kind of look at what that specific guy is good at and build a game plan for him. But you are always kind of getting more proficient in everything. It's just that 8-week cycle for that opponent, it's just kind of like, what do we do for that guy? And then it's back to improving everything as a whole again.
Does that answer that question for you?
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Man.
Hey, I want to throw some names at you, and these are some guys that are on the card. And tell me, in a short sentence, what you think of them and where you see them going with Top Rank. And I'm going to go one guy. I'm going to go Andy Altiveron Vincent, who's on the card.
Oh, I love Andy. I love him.
He's a great
His
guy.
Manager was Herb Stone.
Absolutely.
Herb Stone, who passed away about a year ago.
Yeah.
He would come. This is what being a promoter is, and what a manager does. He would come to town every 2 or 3 months, and we'd go over to win at a restaurant setting.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be there with our matchmakers. And he's pushing his fighter, Andy, and they're talking about different fighters and stuff. And to see this happen, how fights are made, in a quiet way, and and Herb unfortunately passed away, and it was a big loss for us. He's a sweet man, and Andy misses him. You can tell him by what the gear he wears during
Yeah,
fights.
absolutely. And
Andy
just when
is
he
a
talks.
hard-working contender. His better days, he'll have big paydays. That's how I look at him. I like him. I like him a lot.
Blue collar.
And he's a good person.
Yes, he is. I'll tell you something.
Did you go to his funeral, Herb Stone's funeral?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I know that was like the who's who in boxing were all there.
Yeah, but I think when you look at this card, it's a must-win for Ray Beltran.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, he's the guy he's fighting, Okada.
Mm-hmm.
He's handled by a dear friend of mine. His name
We
is,
saw Okada on the way over here.
Yeah, his name is Lauren.
Looking nice and trim and ready.
His name is Lauren Goodman. My daughter writes children's books, and she got rejected for a couple of times, and she got really discouraged. So I had Lauren talk to her, because he's also a writer of books and magazine stories and stuff. And he got some things for her to look at, and it really helped her.
Good.
So there's a lot of things happening in the hotel you guys don't know about.
I'm sure there is.
It's not always boxing talk.
I'm sure Cole can tell you some events, being a fighter, and he can tell you a lot of things that happen in the hotel that he probably can't say on radio. But there's a lot of things that can.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of talk about strategies and stuff. It's
Absolutely.
really it's interesting when you get the trainers together and stuff.
I've seen fights made in an elevator.
It's not like all these top trainers talk to each other and stuff, and there's different kind of training methods and stuff. And
they get along. I've seen a lot of fighters, trainers hang out at the MGM.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Andy real quick. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was contacted by the prison, and they said, Richard, can you get a hold of a fighter that can come in and say a positive speech to the inmates? A lot of them are going to be graduating. They're going to be, a second shot. And right away, I'm thinking, okay, I'll contact this guy, or I'll contact this guy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to contact somebody who walks the walk and talks the talk, not just talk the talk, but is a champion outside of the ring, and that's Andy Vincent. See, that's a lot. We couldn't get cameras in there, so he couldn't get the real recognition of what he does. But he went down there, he made this positive speech, got a standing ovation. The warden was all over him, and he just made an impact. And he said, Richard, it wasn't the impact I made on them. He said, Richard, it's the impact they made on me. I mean, he took that to heart, man, and I want to say that Andy Vincent is a class act, and that's will be actually be coming to the studio on Friday.
Yeah, there's treat people the way they treat you.
Absolutely,
and then that's a good way to live.
So
absolutely,
it's a fair way to live. That whole philosophy of treat people, it's like just treat them good. Like, doesn't matter how you want to be treated, just treat people good, and they'll either treat you good or they won't. And it just shows what kind of character they have.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
So.
I mean, like the story. Okay, if Jesus came in a robe, you're going to say treat him like he's Jesus. Well, what if Jesus didn't come in a robe? If he came in the form of just somebody saying, "Hey, do you know what?"
Homeless guy knocking on your door.
Do you know what time it is? Or do you know where I can find this store? Or hey, do you have a minute? What if he came in that form? I think we'd all be in trouble, to be honest with you.
I think from working different eras, I think these fighters of today are just more into it. I mean, as far as meetings and strategies.
They've been groomed.
80s was a tough era.
Yeah, they've been more groomed to the importance of it in the future,
of social
value.
Media,
yeah,
they have social teams with them.
Exactly.
A lot of fighters we're talking about have their own social teams and they promote themselves.
The monetary
and
value.
that's key. That's where it's at. And Cole was just talking. We have a lot of young fighters coming on here, Lee, and they're talking about, well, I don't got this, I don't got that. And Cole would say, well, bro, you got a cell phone. Promote yourself.
In this day and era, you can do anything you want to do. I met a guy, father came to me with his daughter, and she says she wants to be a writer. I said, no problem. And this is a great country we live in. There's nothing, I travel the world, there's nothing like this country. Nothing's remotely
as far
close
as the
to it.
spectrum of things that are at your fingertips.
The fact that we're speaking here today, doing this today,
openly,
you can't do it in a lot of countries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she said, I want to be a writer, and I said, well, write some stories. She says, how do I get noticed? Write some stuff on Facebook, your Facebook page. Write some stories and stuff. I told her, buy the Sunday New York Times and read about. There's a lot of good stories, a lot of interviews of writers.
Yeah,
how they, get their niche going with a certain.
How they got their foot in the door.
Yeah. So, my daughter had a situation where she got rejected twice for her children's books. So I took her to New York with me and met all the authors, and they said they laughed at her. Said, hey, I got rejected 99 times, and I.
Keep going.
So you gotta keep going. And plus, today you can print the order, and you can promote yourself and do. And the writer said the top places are Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble online. That's where people buy books.
Yeah, we were selling mine on Amazon for a while, and then Walmart.
Cole Escovedo got a book.
Yeah, I mean, it's the social media thing's this big that UFC has whole conference meetings with their fighters, like summits where it's like, guess what? We're gonna walk you through how to make a Twitter. We're gonna get your Twitter verified today with the Twitter staff. They're going to verify it.
That's true. When the fighter joins us, he becomes part of our social team.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a big social team coming into this fight.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Did you see what I posted today? Cole Escovedo as a guest on the Fighter's Voice.
Oh yeah, the old the memory one.
Yeah. I think you were the second guest I had.
I think maybe. Yeah. We were talking about how it was just branching. You were just starting. You're just branching out to it.
I had Cole on as a guest.
Yeah.
And I had told him, I said, man, I mean, we just kind of got along. And before that, we did a fight together, MMA fight together. And I didn't know who he was. They just said, hey, Richard, you're going to ring announce / you're going to go down there and you're going to commentate this MMA fight. Well, I'm glad I didn't know who he was because I probably would have held my tongue on some of the MMA moves. But I did. And he said, hey, how long you been doing this? There was collaboration there. Brought him on as a guest, which, you know how Facebook, they give you that memory. I posted it again, and now he's the co-host. Because that collaboration.
Good correlation. Good dialogue ability.
Yeah, actually it is.
I think Rick Merrigan's one of the best promoters we have.
I think he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
I think he's good at what he does because...
to me, he has a whole town involved in a fighter.
Yeah, he does make it a good move to get as much local support as human. Because realistically, his goal is if I can't get the local support, I'll never be able to bring an event here for my guy. Yeah. And once you have local support, the promoter now starts going, okay, well, there's ticket sales. Support equals ticket sales, and if you got a whole town supporting you, Save Center.
Yeah. No, exactly. And his story, he said he used to drive by there when he was younger and said, someday I'm going to fill that out.
Yeah. Make it full. Once they built the Save Mart Center, I'm sure Rick had dreams.
Did you ever hear a story on how he started promoting?
No.
He used his college fund, right? He got his college intuition, and I may be a little off on it, Rick. And he said, you know what? Because he went to a house party, and he started doing the math, $5 to get in. He started counting the heads, and he goes, I need to throw a party. So he didn't have any money to throw a party, so he got his college tuition, put it in a party, doubled it, and then later on tripled it, and said, well, why do it in the house? Let's do it in the club. He said he promoted a club. It blew up. He was only 20. He couldn't even walk in there but he was promoting from outside because he wasn't 21. And he just said he just kept flipping it.
This is Rick?
Rick Merrigan, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Rick's been doing this type of lifestyle and promoting different businesses in general for far back as I can remember. Yeah. Even before I was fighting,
and he has a plan. And he has a plan for retirement. I happened to just sit in there, and he started talking to a colleague of mine, and I was thinking, it started getting deep. I started thinking, should I personally excuse myself or just sit in there and be quiet like a fly on the wall?
When it comes to conversations like that, if they don't look at you and go, excuse me, Rich, could you give us a minute? They know you're there.
But let me, after the conversation, Rick goes, okay, Rich, you're over there ear hustling, so that'll be $25 an hour. Do the math. That's $150 because I gave you a consultation.
Exactly.
And he turned around.
Right?
He was joking, but he made the point, right? because he was just giving somebody a private seminar.
Yeah, on how to do a business deal, first class.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of private seminars, man, and I don't know how we can connect the two, let's talk about the youngest ever, how that signing was with Gabriel Flores Jr. from Stockton, California. Yeah. And I heard the words come out of your mouth one time, Lee. You said, he's one of the hottest prospects out here.
Yeah.
You said that in Fresno about 2 of Jose's fights ago.
Yeah, we're going to learn more about him on Sunday. He's had the opportunity.
Yes.
I think to get where he wants to go.
Yeah.
And we're excited about him. We're excited about a lot of fighters this card. I like a Citro Ochoa too.
I'm glad you brought him up. He was next on my list.
I think he's a high action fighter. I saw him at his workout the last time we were here. I like him a lot. And Saul Rodriguez, good young fighter. You have to have, a lot of young fighters.
Yeah.
Right.
You do. You have to have fighters to replace your stable.
When you're a big like Bob and Todd, right?
Yeah.
You look for fighters every day. We're looking for heavyweights every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
The search never stops.
Well, yeah, because the sport's never stopping.
Stops.
No, they're there.
And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from.
Every time there's a birth, something happens.
We don't care what country you're from. If you can fight, we have interest.
Yeah. Well,
look at the fighter of the year, Usyk.
Okay.
Right? Look at him. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. If you can fight, we have interest.
There you are. Okay, speaking of interest, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to grab the dice.
You can still throw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Speaking of throw right there. When you go to Bob and you guys are like just chilling, playing golf or whatever you do, just throw this at him right there. Just throw Top Rank Radio featuring the fighter's voice.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm ready to marry that. I'm ready to commit to that.
I'm with you.
Top Rank Radio featuring the fighter's voice.
I'm in.
Okay. Well,
champion born every minute. Like right now, there was a guy that was born that 10 years, 20 years from now will be a belt holder. Like
exactly
because the sport never stops.
Or a gold medalist.
Yeah, exactly. Because the sport never stops.
Or the next Bob Arum.
The next major promoter, the next heavyweight champion. They're always out there.
Yeah.
That's the beauty for that you always have to be shopping.
Yeah.
You always have to be looking for the next because there always is the next.
Yeah.
There's the next Conor. There's the next Mayweather. There's the next Canelo. There's the next Triple G. There's the next De La Hoya. There's always the next one.
Doesn't stop.
Yeah, the sport until they stop making boxing. Until boxing just says, "Okay, boxing's no more. We're done. Find something else to do." There's always gonna be, because they always want to compete. They're always gonna want to be that next guy. It's just
I asked
human
Bob
nature.
one time, we'll always have boxers. He said, yeah, we'll always have boxers, and there'll be people who want to see boxing. They want to see them compete. It's not going to go away. It's going to be.
All you can do is just help instill the purity of the sport in the public eye, and it will just get better and better and better because they'll start to trust it more. Yeah. They'll believe in it more. They'll be like, dude, that was a fair fight. I want to watch the next one. The more that you have, it just gets better. And that goes for all sports, not just boxing, all sports. Anytime there's a question, it leaves a sour taste in any fan's mouth.
By the way, anything Bob does, and Bob can say what he wants and do what he wants.
Yes, he said it when the fight was canceled with the other fighter.
He takes a walk down to the matchmaker's office and he'll say, where we at with this fight?
No, exactly. What do you remember when Jose's
no, he says it.
Yeah. Jose's opponent, he collapsed trying to make weight.
Yeah.
And Bob, he didn't have somebody else go say it. He stepped up to the podium and he said, unfortunately, right? He says this fight's being canceled. The main event is being canceled because of it. And they started booing. And what did he say? He said, "What the hell are you booing for?" He goes, "This is what happened. Who can say that but Bob Arum?"
Yeah.
And he told him straight, "What the hell are you guys booing for?
Booing.
We still got a fight card. Andy Benson's will be moved up to the main event, and he moved some things around."
We never had any inkling that fighter was overweight. However, when the ambulance crew goes up to his room and the fight's over,
oh yeah,
it's done. You can't. If he's suffering that much.
But you would never think that at the press conference, the workouts or nothing. It's just those last pounds.
We didn't know anything.
No.
They probably did. They probably did. Yeah, the camp probably knew.
We started talking about that.
Yeah.
Was it like the last couple of pounds is the toughest?
Yeah, the last 5 pounds are usually the hardest to shed because you're literally asking more from your body than you have to give. Especially if your body count fat's low, like if you got 8%.
Fight week can be heavy or?
I'm usually at about 10 to 15 pounds, about a week and a half out, but usually 10 of that's water weight. I just shed that through the week, start dehydration methods, things like that. But they're changing it. They're changing you can't be a certain percentage over does like a weight. Like you weigh in at this much. If you weigh so much more the next day, you get in trouble because that says that you cut too much.
Yeah.
Like a 24-hour relapse period. They'll measure your weight and go, okay, you're only like 2% back up. You're fine. But if you hit like 10% or something, they're like, we have a problem. You cut way too much.
I can guarantee you this: if you have a main event fighter heavy at the weigh-in, your promotion's done. You're done.
Yeah,
No
you got to
ticket-
kind of
no more tickets.
you got to be on them. Like, hey, Mikey, what's up? How much you weigh today? Oh, I'm 265. You're too fat. Lose 2 pounds. I want 2 pounds gone by the. Remember, your fight's on the line. If you don't make weight, bro, we don't have a fight. Like, you got to be on them.
And like you said, a main event fighter, and you don't get second chances. All that work, all those years, all that, and it comes down to sometimes mental.
But to boo, like when you get a whole crowd that boos like that when he says the fight's canceled, that same mentality.
Yeah.
It's the same mentality that they have when you're stuck in traffic and you're super late and you're stuck in a traffic jam and you're like, man, somebody better be freaking dead. And you drive by and it's a horrific car scene where somebody's probably dead. And you're like, God, I feel like such a shoe. That was that message that Bob was trying to convey to them. Like, what are you booing for? There's a guy that's hurt.
Yeah.
He's physically hurt.
He said, what the hell are you booing for?
Yeah, like, what are you booing for? We still have a card.
He was in the hospital. At that
Yeah,
time.
go. This guy's in the hospital because he was trying to cut too much weight to put on a show for you guys, and you're booing him. We still have a card. Like, that was what he was trying to illuminate. Like, he's in the hospital, guys.
And also, what I'm saying is, when he said that, those boos stopped.
Oh yeah,
But you know something?
because they instantly realized, oh,
The
he's right.
situation was we never were told there was an issue. The team was around us saying like everything's.
It's not like you knew. It's not like you just
No, we
waiting to
didn't
drop
know.
that bomb. It's
We
like we
didn't-
just found out, guys.
First of all, a team is not going to tell you anyway, right?
No, hell no.
They're not going to.
They're going to make sure they push it to the last absolute second because that's what he wants.
His team is going to push his fighter because if you tell the promoter, he'll freak out.
Oh yeah. Well, then that and they want to buy as much time for their fighter. They're like, give them like, let's buy an hour. All we need is an hour. Buy them an hour to recover, and we'll be good. Let's just get to tomorrow.
Exactly. Speaking of buying something, let's pay our bills off, take us to commercial break, and then I'm going to bring the writer for the Fighter's Voice on, Mr. Mike. I hope I get his last name. Rutha.
Rutha?
Redda, like brother Redda. Mike Retha on the show. We're going to do a recap on some of the fights. The Crusher winning his belt back, on some of the last fights, and I'm going to get his take on Fresno, California, February 10th. So let's pay those bills.
Let's pay those bills real quick, and then we'll get it out, guys. Okay, guys, remember, Dying Breed, we've got our hats here. Remember?
Yeah.
They sent
Speaking
us some
of
gear.
hats, this is yours.
Yeah,
the
get a Fighter's Voice hat.
The
Official
Fighter's
hats.
Voice.
Official hats.
And this is yours too. Size extra large, the Fighter's Voice.
We've got our gear. Bobby
and also
Salazar's.
this is yours too.
Thank you.
We don't have any
Thumbs up
salsa for him, though,
The
do we?
Fighter's Voice in the back. Oh, it's in the refrigerator.
Bobby Salazar salsa, as always. Remember,
Bobby Salazar
catch it in your
salsa.
grocery store, wherever they carry Bobby Salazar. We
And
don't
they're
want to kick out any
and they're
names.
a proud sponsor of Jose Ramirez.
They are. They are. They direct sponsor of Jose
Yes.
Ramirez, so you'll see them.
We promoted that Crusher fight last week.
Yeah?
That was our show in Dallas.
Oh,
yeah.
see, he's all over the place.
Yes, he is.
You know, and I sent a note to Egas, see what sustained firepower can do when you stay on top of a guy.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. The pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Buddy Bagert also
You know,
put a little twist in it. You've never seen the Crusher ever throw that many body shots ever in a fight. So I will say that.
you get a guy like the Crusher that hits you, you're going to need our next in line. You're going to need.
He had his career on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, he did.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
That's a dangerous fight, man. Especially when you know your career's on the line.
Yes, it
But
is.
when you get punched, you need a doctor.
Yeah.
Right?
Dr. Batista. They
Dr.
just called me
Batista,
too.
Dr. Good. Did they do too?
Yeah, they just called
We're
me.
gonna have them come down,
Hopefully
right?
I think they wanted to say, Richard, pick up that check for the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show.
So we'll have North Fresno Primary Care eventually come down and check us out. And as always, we had Miles Harris here last week.
Gangster.
Gangster
attorney.
Miles, man. I told you guys, you didn't believe us. I don't know. Maybe you just didn't listen. But what we told you guys, the kind of lawyer and personality he has, it's aggressive, it's direct, it's strong, it's confident, it's everything we said it was. So, and as always, Mad Production Studios, I always love seeing this place. Every week, it just looks better and better. I love it. Mad Loation behind the screen. Still waiting to see some of this movie stuff you're telling us about, man. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. And as always, thumbs up for Richie Productions, man.
For Richard Productions. Hey, we're coming right back and take a commercial break, and we're going to bring our next co-host on the show, Mr. Mike Retha, boxing writer for the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show. Be coming right back here.
Hi, I'm Jose Ramirez.
I'm Bob Arum.
Hi, I'm Robert Garcia, and I'm with the Fighter's Voice.
The only radio show knocking out the competition. Fighter's Voice Radio Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with our closing segment. This segment is called The Last Round. We're going to go over the events happening this weekend in boxing. We're going to recap on the Crusher getting his belt back, and that was a do-or-die situation, and believe me, he did do. Now, and we're also going to ask the questions, what's it going to feel like when your name is called from that podium in June. Because your name has been called several times, but I want to ask the man himself. And he probably can't express it, but I know he's feeling that excitement. Because whenever I mention it's like a kid in a candy store. And as you know, us men, we're a bunch of kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask the man himself. June 2019, the Hall of Fame, the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls, does not get any bigger than this. And we had a conversation on the way over here. Fighters, yes. Trainers, yes. But a man in your position to be recognized because your longevity, my man. Let's talk about that.
It's pretty rare.
Publicists.
The publicists are Irving Rudd, my boss, or Murray Goodman's in from King also. But it's all the people in. I'm only the third. It's incredible. I don't get it.
Hey, don't try to figure it out. Don't try to figure it out.
That's what they told me. They said don't think too much.
Just let it flow. Let the muscle memory go, as they say.
I was with Buddy McGirt, who got inducted also.
Yeah.
He was training Crusher. And we were by ourselves. We're talking, and I said, "Did you have any ideas?" No. He says, "No, I had no idea. We don't know how it's done or nominated or voted for."
Yeah.
And but we do have 5 from Top Rank, which is the most of any company. And I think that goes back to Bob Arum, how he how he puts a company together.
Absolutely.
And I always, when you work with fighters, their families. And they go in the ring. It's tough, man. I know it's a tough sport.
You know what?
Right?
You
go in that ring, man. Only a few can do it at a high level.
You know what was tough is when you interview these fighters and you interview the red corner and the blue corner, and you see them both with their families and and you already know, they're both not going to come out the same way. I mean, how's that for you? Because you're not just a shell. I mean, you have a personal relationship with fighters. They love what you're doing, and you love them.
We had a fighter got beat, Brian Jennings. I like him very much. I know his family. We had a great fight week together. He got beat by a fighter named Oscar Rivas, who was at the fight this past weekend. And I went to the locker room because the fight had a bad ending to it. And I went back to his locker room and just said, "Lee, it is what it is. I can't change it. We just have to move on." I guess that's how you handle it.
That's the mentality of a fighter.
I've seen some pretty rough stuff backstage. Some losses are just devastating. And leading up to when Marquez beat Manny, that was a rough one. I just said when it happened, I hope this is not happening in front of me because it's pretty bad knockout.
No, he went down.
The way he fell, that was
face down.
That's the nature of the sport. You go in there in the ring, anything can happen.
Yeah. No.
I mean, look how hard that Jose hits. I mean, he's there for one reason: take the guy out.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. He really doesn't play with a fighter, Jose. He goes to work pretty quick.
No.
It's like Lomachenko said, I'm there to get him out as quickly as possible.
And that's his job. And you see Jose, and he's just this quiet. He's this quiet, humble person.
Yeah, a lot of champions are are like that.
They don't got to go chirping.
No.
They don't have to. The fight's already signed. We're going to fight.
You'd be amazed how some of the greatest fighters aren't really talkers.
Yeah.
But they go in there and they get the guy out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to name an old school fighter, and let me know what's the first thing that comes to your mind. He's not necessarily a fighter you promoted or maybe you guys cross path. It's an old school fighter, Julian Jackson.
Tough fighter, big hard puncher. He went in the ring to win. It's one thing to go in the ring. It's hard to win.
Yeah.
I've seen guys in gyms and you say, this guy can't lose. And he gets knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
Or you see a guy win 10, 12 fights and then can't get when you go from, and you know this, when you go from 4 to 6, that's a big jump. 6 to 8, and 8 to 10, whatever.
Yeah.
When we signed Miguel Cotto, Todd DeBuff signed him because he thought he had he looked like a pro style as an amateur.
Yeah.
When he turned pro at 19, he was a man.
Yeah.
He was already.
Yeah.
You could get him tough guys right away.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to tell you, one time I went to Arizona with Bruce Trampler. He said, I talk a lot, as you know, and he says, don't say nothing. There's a fight coming out, the last fight of the night. It's a walkout fight. You don't say nothing. You got it? Well, the fighter came in the ring, and he was one of the best fighters I'd ever seen. He was a 4-round fighter, dazzling speed, and took care of his opponent. And I said, "This guy is incredible." I said, "Don't talk." And the guy's manager came over. So how did Chico Corrales look to you, Bruce?
Oh, wow.
So this is a walkout fight.
Wow.
In the arena, and Bruce says, "Yeah, all right,
Wow.
This is why he didn't want me like saying he's a future star, because you can't tell in one fight first.
I always wear those camouflage shorts.
But when you see a young fighter with high rate punching power and speed and movement, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, Lomachenko saying to tell Bob, "I want to fight for a world title on my pro debut."
Yeah,
that tells you where.
that
Tells
tells
you.
where he
and
was
Bob,
at.
Bob agreed, because he says he's the most decorated amateur of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
One loss, and he made that up how many times in the amateurs
Yeah,
already?
but and here's the difference with Arum and other promoters. Again, Slido couldn't make weight in Texas. I asked him, "You look heavy." He goes, "Yeah, I am heavy. You gonna make weight?" He says, "No."
Kept that real, huh? Why punish his body?
You kidding me? Against this guy, I'm not making weight. And he fouls him 12 to 15 times, number called. When I went back to Lomachenko's corner with Agus Klimas, they never said a word, nothing. No protests or anything. They said, "We're going to review the tapes," because he came out like an amateur and whatever. And what did Bob do? His next fight, Gary Russell, a feared guy, 30-0 in Showtime. And Lomachenko did what he had to do.
Took him apart.
Body shots. That's what Arum did. He didn't give him a tune-up fight against a 5-5 guy. He knew what he had.
Yeah. And he taught Russell a lesson in that fight.
Yeah, it wasn't our. I mean, it was outrageous. What happened in that fight against Salido, outrageous. Yeah. But when you're a promoter, you can't do anything. Yeah. The fight's over, and you have to move on from it. It's hard, but and then Bob goes, "Don't worry about him. I'll give you a better guy to fight." That's how Bob thinks.
Yeah. And in that fight,
that's different from other promoters.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that fight,
I mean, just like other trainers, I mean, Emmanuel Stewart was the only trainer to date to train you for a knockout. He didn't train you to go the distance.
I think Abel Sanchez is the same way.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
He trains for a knockout.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. No. Yeah. Of course.
Right.
Especially when you're working with a horse.
Yeah.
And the type of fighters you have. Too,
absolutely.
Yeah. He wants to go for it. With Mayweather's great upper body defense, and he's difficult to hit.
Yeah.
It really is.
No. Yeah. The shoulder roll is. And he has a small head too.
And nobody else has perfected that shoulder roll but Mayweather.
All right. I have a question for both of you guys.
Sure.
Bob, one day in the office, he likes to mess around. He goes, "Hey guys, who do you think is the roughest, meanest, toughest guy we ever promoted? The meanest guy. Destroys his opponents. No mercy."
Dang, you guys have a lot.
You have a lot. I could say Crawford. I could easily say Crawford.
This is of all time.
Oh, of all time.
Yeah, right now I would say Crawford has the most meanest streak that you guys seen.
This is of all time.
I'd say Hagler.
Yeah, yeah.
Roberto Duran.
Oh yeah,
my God.
How did I forget that?
Yes, of course.
yes. I was just watching some of his fights
Aaron
earlier.
said he was frightening.
He's helter
He
skelter.
said he was frightening in the ring.
Yeah,
frightening.
See, and I was going to break down the Fearless Four. I was going to go Thomas Hearns, Marvin, because I usually go my weight. I always start from there. Yeah. I was even going to say Zuma Nelson, but no, Roberto Duran was a mean son of a gun.
Oh, he's a tough guy.
It's all real. Sugar Ray Leonard said it best. He said, like, looking in his eyes was like looking into Helter Skelter's eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That wasn't it wasn't a fake performance that he was doing. That's really how he was.
No, and Mike Tyson, he respected Roberto Duran.
Mm-hmm. Who's the greatest fighter today?
Oh man!
Honestly, this is just my personal opinion from who I've seen.
Today, right now, or all time?
Today.
Oh, okay.
This is just my personal opinion because of who he's gone through. Is Usyk.
Oh, Usyk. Yeah.
Usyk.
That's a good pick.
I mean, he fought the top at cruiserweight, and he's done it in their hometown. That's very hard to do it. Usyk, and then I would put Crawford right behind him, and Loma.
I mean, see, that's good because I could say who's the best, but it's talking about your opposition too.
Yeah.
And not your fighter, but I can say Canelo only because of the opposition he's fought.
Yeah.
I can say that.
I'll go with Crawford and Lomachenko.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah.
Well, I go with them as far as
tag
star
team.
status, yes, but as far as opposition, what's infirm, that's where I try to balance out. But yeah, Crawford would have been my first pick.
Yeah.
Crawford will fight anybody.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he will.
Anybody.
I mean, he went up to
He
Spence.
doesn't- but remember this: champions will fight anybody. They don't fear. When you're a champion, you don't fear nobody.
Yeah.
No champion's going to turn a fight down.
No,
Bob's
no, you're a
not going to
fighter.
call a champion and say, "Oh, I want to fight." No, champions take it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What's one of the fights that was almost there, but it never came to pass? Name two fighters
I
there.
don't know. But,
Well, the rematch of Deloy and Trinidad.
Well, okay, there you go. That stands because that's for all time. That never happened.
Hagler Leonard never happened. Rematch.
No, neither did Tommy Hearns Hagler.
Morales and Marquez. That's my biggest win. Out of
Oh, my gosh,
everybody
yeah.
at that weight, they all fought each other but Morales and Marquez.
That's very true. Well, again, Kenny Norton didn't fight Joe Frazier, so I wanted to see that
I was
happen.
in El Paso the night that Eric beat Zaragoza.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Crusher. I mean, we talked about how that was a career win, but he kept his composure.
All week, this Alvarez, he looked like a mean cat.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He looked like a buff
at the
Felix
press
Trinidad.
conference, at the press conference, he had just a mean look and frightening actually.
Yeah.
And but in the ring, it's something else.
Yeah.
And Crusher changed his tactics, and he went at him. It's hard to go straight at a sustained
At a bully.
pressure. And
At a guy that just knocked you out for
Yeah.
what Crusher did to him was
yeah, but why was the fight so different? Because the first fight, Alvarez used that jab and made nothing.
Yeah.
I think he was thinking Crusher was going to go at him and be like, oh, he's going to come to me and I'm going to counter him again. And Crusher, if you look through that whole fight, he's throwing that right hand. Kovalev is right. Move.
Not only was it the different trainer and tactics, I honestly believe that his nutrition, his stamina,
Oh, yeah,
and
he
his
went-
work.
he
Because,
didn't look tired.
No, he didn't look tired.
Because he took the same shot in the
Well,
6th or
look at
7th
Manny
round.
Pacquiao did not look tired against Broner.
Yeah.
He looked 25 years old, fresh legs.
Yeah. And, I mean, it helps when the other guy's not throwing a punch at you either. But, he's still.
No, well, he won. He said
yeah.
he won the fight for the hood. So
No,
he
but
did-
Pacquiao was quick as he's been the last
What
few
was
years.
Tim Bradley's best fight?
Tim Bradley's
Oh, I
best
could
fight.
put that easy. Marquez, when he went over to England,
Yeah,
when he
exactly.
when
Good
he
call.
won the title against
Yeah.
Whittier, but Devin
Bam
Alexander.
Bam.
I
Wait,
told
look,
I told the night
it was Marquez for me.
The night
Okay.
that he beat Marquez, I jumped in the ring. I told Tim and Joel Diaz, "You're both going to the Hall of Fame."
Oh, yeah,
that was the most beautiful, incredible, high intensity fight. And Bradley
To go
won.
He
from-
wrote a Picasso, and I was rooting for him because Marquez was just coming off the knockout.
Yeah, and the way he went from his victory against Pacquiao, that everybody questioned, then to go through that war with Provodnikov, you're probably thinking he might be shop worn. He's going to get knocked out,
Well-
and he put on a hell of a fight.
Well, talking about painting a Picasso, remember Terry Norris knocks out Simon Brown. Now, on the rematch, Terry Norris gave him a boxing lesson,
Yeah.
schooled him.
It's
I mean,
hard-
to make that transition from a rematch.
It's hard to believe that the differences in rematches with the different winners and different styles
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
It's who adapts the best, honestly.
Well, he truly believed.
Yeah.
And let's even talk MMA. I like the rematch between Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. I mean, just completely different fighter.
Yep.
Even when he knocked him down, he said, "No, I'm not going down on the ground.
Yep.
When I'm going down on the ground at all."
And that was still a close fight, but he did just enough to take it.
Just enough. I want to talk more about some of our fighters here. I want to talk some more, a little in depth. Let's talk about Gabriel Flores Jr. because we talked about him. My whole thing is, you know what I'm excited about? I can't wait till he grows into his man strength because he's a kid. He's still a kid.
No, he has a ways to go yet, but
Yeah.
he'll
Yeah.
get there.
Yes, I truly believe that.
What do you think of Teofimo Lopez?
Love the kid.
Wow.
Love the
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
I tell him all the time. I met him 2 years ago here in Fresno, him and his dad. His dad is hilarious. His dad is one of the funny people.
I remember the size of his knuckles.
Yeah.
They're just that ball right
But
here.
Teofimo, he is a student. I mean, we're talking fight starts. All right, give me a minute. And he's sitting there, and I could see him looking at these guys because they're around his weight class. All right, he does this. Okay,
A star is born.
He's destroyed every. Who would give him a fight?
Whatever he hits, he destroys.
No, who would give him a fight?
Honestly, it's if he goes up, because I think eventually that Lomachenko fight's going to be there. Right now, I would love to see him against Pedraza. That's a perfect test for him.
Pedraza's a pretty good fighter.
Yeah, and that's why I would love to see that.
That's a real good fighter.
That's the fight.
And then
Pedraza.
Yeah, that's the fight.
and then if
Who wins that fight?
Lopez, but it's going to be tougher.
I'm taking
Pedraza
takes
who
him to
beat
deep.
down Beltran?
I'm thinking
I honestly
takes him
think
into deep
it-
waters.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, he'll. It's not going to be a runaway.
No.
But I think it's going to be the power of Lopez is going to be the telling sign at the end.
He just don't touch you.
Yeah.
He touches you.
And
I
the
mean,
thing
you're
is,
out.
the way
you
he
got hit by a semi.
the way he hit Magdaleno to knock him down, it wasn't a left hook. He turned southpaw, and those were left crosses, and they were deadly. I mean, you heard and then the second one was worse.
Yeah.
So he gets better every fight. Same thing that I've told Andy Vences. I've seen him improve in every fight that he's come out in. The way he fought against De Leon was a tough, hard puncher, and Vences moved it away.
I thought he neutralized him.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about that. We watched it underneath. It was raining, like pointing cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah,
And-
I thought he neutralized him.
Oh yeah, we were up there in the press box. I was talking to a couple of the other guys, and they were like, "I thought he would have get knocked out." I'm like, oh no, Vences has improved every fight.
Yeah. Had he taken just that slight risk, but he was tagging him. I thought he did enough to win the
I
fight.
thought he won the fight,
I
but-
thought he did enough to win the fight.
You could understand where someone would be like, oh, okay, maybe this,
Yeah.
but he did enough to win the fight. in
I
my
only
eyes.
say that because of the outcome. Now, I want to ask you, Isidro Ochoa, he's Fresno's own. We were just talking the other day, Lee, and he said, well, I'm Fresno's own. My birth certificate says Fresno, California. His whole dream is to win a world title and bring it back here to Fresno as Fresno's documented own with his birthright here in Fresno, California.
He has the ability to do that.
He does. He's very slick.
Yeah.
He's very slick.
Got some major amateur wins.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the Shakur, but
Yeah.
and they talk. They respect each other. They respect each other. So what can we expect? I mean, we got Wednesday. We got the press conference. Let's talk about that. I'm sorry, the media workouts. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the media workouts tomorrow at Tachi Palace. I think it's at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
And all the stars will be over there. You come over, say hello to the guys. They'll sign autographs and be real friendly.
Yeah, all the fighters we're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll be with them.
And Thursday, Jose's doing something with Children's Hospital, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. In Clovis?
Yeah, in Clovis. Yeah, Clovis
Yeah.
Community. Now, Friday will be at the press conference starting at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Weigh-ins at 3.
Tachi Palace at 2 o'clock on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And there we are.
There we are.
And check this out. If you have not bought your ticket yet, hit up Save Mart Sitter. Go to IG, hit up Rick Merigium, or just hit up one of these fighters, or hit up the fighter's voice. Will lead you and point you in the right direction. At this point, we got no tickets to give away, but I'm giving you information on how to accumulate those tickets. Get your checkbook, get your credit card. You can pay later on. But right now, you got to be at Save Mart Center on a Sunday. And you're probably thinking, why on a Sunday? Why not on a Sunday? We're off that Monday.
Yep.
So talk about having your cake and eat it too. We're having it right now, my man.
I got one fighter that's on that card that I'm excited to see in
Who's
person.
that?
Genesis Serrania.
Oh, yeah.
The fight he gave Valdez.
Okay.
When I seen that, I was like, I've been wanting to see this guy fight in person.
That's one fight you don't want to make.
Yes.
You don't do a rematch with that one.
Do you have the fight card?
I already know. As soon as they announced that he was on there, I was like, there's no way I'm missing that card.
What fight is Isidro fighting? Who's the first fight? What time do doors open?
I have
One, right? One or two?
Open at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Ooh, my
And the first fight's
gosh.
at 1, right?
1 o'clock first bell, 4 o'clock ESPN Live.
What time's credential pickup? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock?
Probably
12
about
o'clock.
12 something.
Isidro, where's he at in the card? I don't
I
want to miss his.
I don't know yet.
I don't think they
okay.
have the card set up yet.
No.
Okay.
You guys usually get them
I-
by Thursday or Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to it. It said they were still working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of working on it, man, I want to throw this name out there. 2 names right there, and I know we're gonna wrap it up right now. I know you got some things to do, but I'm gonna throw this name, and you already touched up on it. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I mention the name Bob Arum?
Legend. I am because of him.
Okay.
Because he hired me, and he's a genius. He loved Ali, his first fighter. Was very close to him even at the very end, and he cares for his fighters. I can guarantee.
Yeah.
There's some things you don't know about Bob. After fighters retire, sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Illnesses and stuff. Bob's
Yeah.
right there to help families and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was a publicist, we were told not to send anything out. But Bob is very caring. He helps a lot of the fighters who are in need.
Okay.
Gennaro Hernandez,
Oh, yeah.
for example. is
Oh
one
yes,
example.
Chiquita.
I heard a story from someone.
One of our favorite fighters is Gennaro.
Yeah.
We're very close with that family.
He was actually a good commentator as well.
And to show how much that man was respected, remember Mayweather helped put some money in there for his funeral as well, because Mayweather beat him for that title. And he would, if you look at old videos of Mayweather when he was young, he talks about, I used to love watching that man fight in L.A.
Yeah.
That shows the respect Mayweather had.
I remember Larry Merchant made a comment because Mayweather came in with the emblem of the WBC on his shorts, and he says, "Really?" As if to say that, right? But then he gave him a boxing lesson. Now, how do you want to be remembered when they mention the name Lee Sang, when it's all said and done? Because I think you're going to be one of those OGs, and the longevity we talked about it is because you're able to reinvent yourself constantly. How do you want to be remembered in the boxing world?
Just a good person. Love the.
You get that now, Lee. Yeah. You do. Everybody. What do we say? Everybody will run into.
I mean, you put your name out there on someone talks about Twitter. They'll see a picture of you. I'll see all the oh, Lee, lovely. Oh, he's the greatest. Oh, everybody has a story about how great you are.
I think when you care for people, remember I was a writer for a long time. I was a news writer too. A lot of bad things happen to people. Not boxing's a joy, believe me.
As opposed to
compared to real world out there.
As a writer, what's the toughest question you had to ask? And you knew before you leave this room, you had to ask that question.
Okay, when I go in the ring and say a fighter got stopped or something, a top-ranked star, you got to be very, very careful how you talk to that fighter. And usually I'll just say, "What's going on?" like that. What's happening? And he'll say, "I'll tell you what's happening." You can't. You got to be very careful talking to fighters in the ring. They just fought 10, 12 rounds. There's a lot of things going on if they lost a fight.
Oh yeah, the fighter that has lost, yes.
You got to be very careful. Tell the PR guys
those post-fight interviews need to be conducted differently, being sensitive, professional, and with class.
I'm talking like right after the fighter fights. And
inside of the ring.
You got to handle it right.
There's a way to talk to him.
Way to talk to him.
Absolutely.
But when I was a publicist for Top Rank, for a big promotion, I would call the fighter ahead of time and try to block out some time each day, like 2 hours a day. I said, "I need some time with you," because he's very busy all day.
Yeah.
And once I get that time locked in, I'm good.
Yeah.
And they want to do interviews.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They love it.
And they like to open up.
I was at a press conference and with another company, and I had a fighter, and the other company goes, "You guys got 2 questions each," and I said, "Man, Mike, he talks all night. I can't stop him talking."
Yeah, exactly. Oh well.
And
I know some fighters that way.
I'll tell you why I did that. Fighters like to talk. They like to talk about their families and whatever. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. And there was a reporter named Michael Baca, who was one of the fighters who wanted to interview a fighter. I said, "Sure." He asked, and I hadn't met him before. He asked some of the most unique questions I ever heard. So you have to listen to that. Also, when we went to Macau, and I was with Brandon Rios, and he's a tough cat. I said, the Chinese media have a different method of interviewing, and I want you to enjoy it. When can I do it? I said, when I do my hand wraps, we can do it.
Yeah.
Practicing. And so they would ask about family life, brothers and sisters, parents. They knew about the fighters ahead of time. We live in an amazing country.
Yeah.
Like all the fights are televised worldwide, and they are known worldwide.
Yeah.
And then they just got into family stuff, and then not like left and rights and stuff, but more about the person.
Right.
And he really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it. He had a good time with it.
We're talking about Bam Bam Rios.
Yeah. I love him.
No, okay, well, I'll tell you a quick story, too. We're at Robert Garcia's gym, and he's running around. He's being Bam Bam.
Oh, yeah.
And when he came on the show, he was a true professional with class. If you look at that interview, it was yes, sir, and just completely the way he handled himself. Okay, the switch is on now. And he knew how to handle himself, very articulate and very open, and he told a story about his dad.
Oh, yeah. I got a funny story about that. Can I tell it?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this is the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show, where every fighter has a voice, including you.
So when the fight was over with Pacquiao, I was with his father, and he says, "I need to get to the airport." I said, "I'll take you to the airport." I always had somebody with me from the hotel with me because
Yeah.
I get lost easy. So I took him to the airport, and his father goes, "Can we get a picture with Freddie?" Yeah, no problem. Remember, that was a very heated promotion.
Yeah.
Remember?
Because of the
kicking,
antics.
everything.
The
Yep.
kicking.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Now that never got resolved.
No, it didn't. No.
No.
And then
No,
and then
that didn't get done.
and the mocking, which is classless.
Yeah.
And that's why that guy's
Yeah.
So,
out.
and they said, "Do you have to ask Freddie?" I said, "No, I don't have to ask Freddie. I'll go to him." And, hey, and we got to the airport. Hey, Freddie, the boys want to take a picture. Yeah, let's take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Freddie is.
Yeah.
As a person, as a man. You know.
Yeah.
But some things don't get resolved.
No. I actually got one of Freddie's original fight posters. Original, because Marie gave it to me. She goes, "Richard, come here. I got a gift for you."
He fought.
And gave it to
He
me.
fought anybody, any town, anywhere, and he was a real brave cat.
Yeah.
Brave
He's
performer.
And you know what? He's still a brave cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to squeeze him in here Friday if I can.
Yeah, he has to because of his situation do some things medically to keep it all going.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's why,
I
and that's why
understand that.
Marie is always with him.
Yeah. No, Marie, she's golden, man. She treated us right. She goes beyond. She really cares, and she cares about the whole program and Freddie first and foremost.
Yeah, he should thank Marie a lot because she keeps him going.
Oh yeah, and I've been there when Freddie when he starts getting that little attitude when things ain't happening. But she keeps her calm and collect, and because Freddie needs it done now.
Oh, yeah.
And have you met Pepper, Freddie's brother?
Sure.
Oh, he's a little character too. I like him
Yes,
too.
he is.
Yeah, very nice in there, man.
That really is an historic gym. That,
It really
top
is.
and bottom.
If you think about who's been through there, yeah.
Absolutely. And celebs. I mean, Mario
yeah.
Lopez will go in there. Sylvester Stallone will go in there.
Kobe's gone in there.
Marky
think
Mark.
about that.
I mean,
You guys-
Russell's
people-
been in there.
people from every-
GSP has been in there.
People from every
You
sport go in there.
you walk in and see stars working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll tell
Russell
you.
Wilson was just in there.
Exactly. I'll tell you a quick story. I've told this on the air before. I want you to hear this, Lee. My wife, she says, "Richard, what do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "Let's pass by a wild card gym. I just want to go there." And I was fascinated by the whole OJ case. I said, "Let's pass by where the whole OJ incident happened and so forth." So I called Marie and I said, "Is there any way I could just look in there or something?" And she goes, "No, we can do better than that. I can squeeze in a 20-minute meeting." Okay, and I wasn't going to bring no I go, "No, well, the press." I go, "No, I'm not going there as a press. This is my birthday. I'm not bringing no cameras, no nothing. It's just Richard Ortiz walking in there." That 20-minute meeting turned into 3 hours. And then Freddie goes, just by pure coincidence, he goes, "Let me show you something." Takes me downstairs. And this question still has never been answered. I don't know why he had it locked, but it was locked. He opened it up. He opens it up. And lo and behold, guess who's hitting the bag? Talk about getting starstruck. And he introduced himself, and I said, "I know who you are, sir." I wanted that picture so bad, but I didn't want to be that guy. He was working out. He was trying to finish. And it was the attorney for the OJ case,
Oh wow.
Shapiro.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I was able to get that picture in L.A. because remember he was in L.A. And I said, "Yeah, I met you at a wild card." He goes, "I remember you, the birthday guy, right?" I said, "I wanted so much to get that picture. Let's do it now." So there's a time and a place, but for my birthday, that 20-minute meeting turned into 3 hours. And Freddie and my wife got along better because Freddie's actually from Canada. And he said, "Yeah, they think I'm from Irish, but they would do that to sell tickets." So he would always tell me all his stories. And he said, "You could print that if you want. I don't care." He said, "I don't give a blank." And you know the way Freddie is.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, I wanted to see the whole OJ thing. And who's hitting the punching bag? Robert Shapiro.
Wow.
True story, man. It happened. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Yeah.
And I know you got tons of stories like that to tell. One question I want to ask you before you leave, man. What was it like being around Muhammad Ali?
The most amazing person I ever met in my life. Again, I saw him at a different time than you guys saw.
Yeah.
And he was young, joyful, made fun of the press, and the press wouldn't leave the press room. Even if he said he wouldn't talk to him, because he just would pop in. He would pop in. It was a different time. And he did a lot of magic tricks, levitation tricks, and made fun of his opponent, of course, and performed at a high level in the ring. And if if you watch that video, This Is Boxing,
Mm-hmm.
he opens that video and
Yeah.
closes the video. That's for a reason. He's Bob's first fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob was very close to him and the family. But he, of all the fighters I met, or people, most amazing person I ever met.
Yeah.
He's the
Big-
reason why
bigger-
I am where I like boxing so much was because of him.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a quick story right here. You see Lee all calm and collective, right? No, you do. But the press is there. They're professional. Act like you've done it before. You're there. Wait, let me get there.
I seen it.
You're doing a job. Don't you dare stand up and start cheering because he will lose it. Lee went over there and just checked this guy. He said, he told the grown man, why don't you behave? We got people
we're
paying
standing
there.
up in
We
front
got,
of the press guys.
yes.
Yeah, that was
No warning, no nothing.
The funniest
your
thing
first
was-
and your last warning.
It was ridiculous for a guy to stand in front of the press.
Hey, but
I don't understand how he was there. And he kept trying to talk to me, and I finally said, okay. And I finally said, do you have a card? I'll call you later or something.
The funniest thing about that is, remember, because you were sitting on the other side.
Yeah.
Everybody, when they seen the guy look at Lee like he was going to tell him something, every single person in press row and the people around there was like, oh, is he talking to Lee like that? Like, this guy's trying to get checked right here?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, he's talking to Lee crazy?
Yeah.
And then we're like waiting to see what's going to happen. And then he sat
See,
down, calmed down.
all these guys got your back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just told him to sit down, that's all.
Yeah, but
There you go.
the way
he didn't say it calm like that.
But the way he looked back, everybody was like, "Okay, if he's gonna say or do something, we're all going over there right now."
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, so they were ready.
I never had a problem in the press section. So.
I got one last question, though, Lee.
But I don't like guys standing up.
Oh yeah,
No, man, no.
I got one question, Lee. So this one is because this fighter is, I wouldn't say like friend or nothing, but I'm real good with him. Surdo Ramirez. I actually told him and his team.
Yeah.
I told him and his team.
I saw him last week.
In Texas.
Yeah.
I told him and his team a year before he beat Abraham that he was going to be a champ. I seen it in the style. So ever since then, they always told me they respected me because I seen it.
I got a funny story about the Abraham fight.
Let's hear it.
So Abraham's team called me for a meeting at the MGM. I think we met in a McDonald's place.
Oh,
yeah. That little.
There's one right there, yeah.
Yeah. And they said, we have a question for you. And do you control the sports book? No, I don't control the sports book. So we're the champion. Yeah, you're the champion. So he's a challenger, right? Yeah. So how come he's favored?
He asked you that, huh?
Hey, and that was the thing.
They said, did you do that? I said, no, I don't do anything with the sports book.
There was
They
a
took
reason.
that to heart.
There was a reason he was a favorite. I told people for the longest, anybody that would listen to me, I was like, he's going to. I said it clearly. He may not knock him out, but he is going to dominate him for those 12 rounds.
Yes.
You know, I worked when I worked in the sports book. We took a lot of boxing. Who was a guy that fought Tyson that came out of jail? Irish fighter.
Oh, Peter McNeely.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there for that one.
So my first week as a boss in a sports book,
Hurricane McNeely.
there's a long line of people all betting McNeely. So when you do action and big action, so like sometimes the computer screen would turn red, which means double key or triple key. It means the fight. The computer protects the house in the sports book, and double key or triple key means 2 or 3 supervisors, right? So to prove that bet, because there's no bets for Tyson, it's all one-sided. So I picked the red phone up. My boss over in Terra said, "Listen, we're taking a lot of action on this guy, and there's a long line here." He goes, "If I need to talk to you, I'll call you. You just keep taking the action."
Yeah. There you go. No,
Get that
take
money.
it up. Exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
never saw, when you work in a sports book, most games are 80-20, 90-10. They're not 50-50 like you read in the freaking books.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll tell you a quick story about that fight. We went down there to MGM Grand, and I took my mom with me. And my mom just thought, okay, Mijo, can I meet Tyson? She thought it was that easy. So I took her down there anyways. And they had the doors open. And as you know, the MGM Grand is down. So I just said, Mom, you see that ring all the way down there? There's where they're fighting. So there was some lady. Her name was Carol. We'll just say her name was Carol. She said, "Oh no, you guys can't be there." I said, "No, we came all the way from Fresno. I just want to show my mom just so she can see the ring. No, we can't have it." And kind of rude, but I get it, right? Boom. Went back to the room. I felt like a failure, man. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just wanted my mom to see the ring, and that's probably the closest I'm going to get her." And honestly, I prayed. I said, man, I wish you could just make a way. Well, anyways, they're having the, he's being interviewed by Larry King at the MGM Grand in the middle of the ring. Don King's there. So I go in the back, and John Horn walks by. And he says, hey, Rick, how you doing? Right? I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, hey, Mom, how you doing? He goes, yeah, Mike should be coming out later on or something. He said, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to wait here. He goes in there, and he said, come back in, bring Mom. So we go in the green room, where the green room is there, and they can see everything that's going on there. There's food there, there's appetizers and stuff, and the press is there, and not everybody gets to interview them. They're doing a lotto pick. So they just look at us like, who are these people in here? Like, yeah, whatever. And they're testing, 1, 2. They're rehearsing, right? So everybody that looked at us kind of crazy, John Horn comes out. He says, come on, Rich, you and Mom. And we went in the middle of the ring right there on Mike Tyson. My mom put his arm around him, blessed him like all Mexicanos do. Yeah. And Mike started asking me, I said, can you sign this for my son? He goes, you have a son? How old are you? Where are you from? I said, Fresno. He goes, oh, by Modesto. So he knows this area. Long story short, and I'm telling him the story. I said, we tried to see the ring, and this lady wouldn't let us. I go, actually, that's her right there. And he went to go off on her. I said, no, it's okay. He goes, and then he looked at me and goes, Richard? Like, it's none of my business. She came back, apologized, and so forth, and that's the true story. Less than 24 hours, Lee, all I wanted to do was show my mom the ring where Tyson's fighting. Less than 24 hours, my mom's in the middle of the ring with Mike Tyson. He just got done, and then my mom got to meet Larry King, and then, of course, Don King. I mean, he was just there. And I pulled out a card for him to sign, and all these people, they're ready to check me because all the security was there. And see, he signed that card, and when he handed it to me, he put a thumbprint on it by accident because it was the silver ink. So I just thought I'd share that with you because we talked about Peter McNeely. And prior to that, I saw Peter McNeely outside smoking a cigar before the fight. That's real talk. And he saw my hat that said I had it made, say Team Tyson, because I had him sign something too. Yeah. So that's just one story I got to tell, and it's real and existed, but it doesn't even touch the surface of all your stories. You've been there with the Muhammad Ali's, the De La Hoyas, the Julio Cesar Chavez, the Maldrick Taylors. You have the best job in the universe. How does that make you feel?
Remember Oscar, he ran the 90s. Mm-hmm. Every fight sold out, you know. And
practically to females.
And Pacquiao did
2000.
Top Rank has always had a star in his company.
Absolutely.
Like Bob said, we always have to have stars.
Absolutely.
We can't run without stars.
Absolutely.
Right now the stars are Crawford and Lomachenko.
There you are.
Yeah.
There you are. I'm rooting for Jose Ramirez to make that move.
Yeah.
I'm really rooting for it.
I'm with you.
Yeah, there we are right here.
A nice knockout would take care of.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk prediction then. What are we thinking?
You guys better do that.
I'm feeling live at 5.
That's exactly what my 5th round body shot.
And Lee says I don't do it for free. So you know what I mean? No. Here we go. Hey, don't forget to follow The Fighter's Voice, www.youtube.com/TheFighter's or thefightersvoice.com. Subscribe to the channel. Watch this. I mean, we got a chance to sit down with the man, the myth, the legend. And before we go, I got to tell this story just real quick. This reporter right here, people would clown him. They'd make fun of him. He first started doing his first interviews using a cell phone. He bumps into Lee Samuels, and he's asking for a credential. And Lee says, what's your website? And the guy, he's kind of like, okay, he's kind of stuck. And Lee looked under, and he says, that's just a YouTube channel. You don't have a website. I can't give you a credential. Lo and behold, this reporter guy that had a website says, no, he's with me. So he got the pass during that one day. And that was less than 2.5 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, now that person that only had a cell phone has Lee Samuels in studio, and that happened. Remember that?
No.
No, it did happen. He said, you only got a YouTube. You don't have a website. I cannot
YouTube's good today, I'll tell you that.
Yes. He said, I cannot grant you a credential. So it was Mark from Boxing Speaks came to my aid and said, no, he's with me. Here's my website. So he said, okay. So he handed over a credential. And less than 2.5 years after that, Lee Samuels is here in studio with The Fighter's Voice. I just want to share that.
You got that one. I got one too.
Let's hear it.
The first fight I ever covered, Tachi Palace, Daniel Valdivia was the main event, and Andy Reese was on that card as well.
Yes, heavyweight.
Lee gave me a credential, and the truest thing I've ever had till this day. I don't know if you remember, it was when my fiance was there and she was pregnant. Yeah. You had just brought us water, and he tells me, by the end of that night, that credential's off your neck and she has it. And I was like, all right, whatever. An hour later, she has a credential walking around the whole place. I'm sitting there doing my story. Didn't even catch that she had taken it. I had no idea.
Exactly.
Every credential is up on the wall now. Everyone she's taken from me. And it was the truest story he's ever
And I
seen.
will say this: it's not what we do for him; it's what he does for us.
Exactly.
Because, and we are only 2 stories to tell because of the impact that he's making. I'm telling you, I get goosebumps just knowing that he's here in the studio. Hey, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Remember, Richard Ortiz, your host with the Fighter's Voice Knockout Radio Show, the only voice that matters. That's what Ali Setback said, and it's on video. Hey, as always, I dedicate this whole show to my son. Te quiero mucho, mijo. I love you with all my heart, Richie. This is for you. Thumbs up for Richie.
Never down for the count. It's just another wrap. Thanks for listening to the Fighter's Voice Radio Show. Catch us again next week. Same when, same how. And always stay connected to the Fighter's Voice on social media. So, on behalf of Richard Ortiz, Cole Escovedo, our special guests, and the whole crew right here at the Fighter's Voice Radio Show, saying see ya next week, right here on the Fighter's Voice.